believe the recording is here to keep us to task. Oh, welcome back, everybody. Any announcements? Not muted. Okay. And any open
I was
forum?
going to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Oh, yeah.
I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Okay, let's get started with Grape 2 then.
What's that?
Haven't the foggiest.
Okay. Let's see, where do I start? I have not heard back yet from the board house on if they've gotten paid yet or not. So I have no idea if they started the production run. So I sent them an email this morning, have not heard back. So I've received the 4 new version magnetometers from Dave Whitten. Dave Whitten, Bill Blackwell and myself had a conversation yesterday.
Yeah.
And we got pretty much straightened out. He's going to cut us a special version for our application and have it automatically pipe into the program. So it sounds really slick. I got back from Bill Engelke the format of the data we're going to be needing to use. So there's going to be a slight change. We were originally going with JSON, but he's using all the CSV file stuff. So we'll have to hash that out because I want to be consistent with what's being used. I have not started building the last version of the logic board. I got some in and I want to build one before I pull the trigger on building 35 more. I just want to make sure I haven't missed anything. But it will have the capability of running the hard drive power supply directly from the board, so you only have one wall wart, but I have to make sure that it has enough power to do that, in which case I have to profile the current and boot up, which I can do, but I haven't done that yet. So another small item on the list. Just got an email this morning from Salisa. It looks like the hard drives are being ordered, which leaves the Leo Bodnars, and then the last big purchase item is going to be the order for the production of the 35 or 36 the logic boards, which I'm going to pull the trigger on as soon as I'm confident that I can pull the trigger on it. I don't want to build 35 scrap boards. So we're doing really good, moving ahead. It looks like Bill has finally squashed that sucker flat bug of the thing kicking off about exactly at the 24-hour mark. So he squished that bug and we've been running now successfully. I think his ran for 5 days and mine's been running now for 4 with no problem. So I'm pretty sure that bug is dead and gone. He started integration work. In fact, I'll let him update on that, but we've got integration work on the diagnostics for me to be able to test the RF boards, because there's 96 tests that I need to run to verify that each board is working. And that's on his part. And then I have other tests I have to run independent of that for the debug and test before those boards are ready to go out. I also am getting together a package for Nathaniel's person who's going to hopefully do the 3D printing of the panels. I've got a drawing I have to print out, and I want to make a model of the 2 real boards, put the connectors on it and the LEDs on it and the cables on it, and put it in a box and ship the box and everything to him, so he has the full hardware set to work with, and then the drawings as well. Initially, he's going to make the front panel, and I'm going to have conversations with him on how to make a back panel. But we've got like a 40-pin ribbon cable, 3 other cables coming out. So there's a lot of cables plugging into the USB ports and the RJ45 port for the Ethernet on the 24-pin cable to the Pico. I'm sorry, to the Raspberry Pi. And I've been thinking about having him make a top snap bracket that goes on the top of the casing. It sort of grabs the edge ribs that would hold the Leo Bodnar and the Raspberry Pi in place. Because if that was the case, then that whole box would sit on top of the disk drive and it'd be a nice consolidated packaged unit for shipping to the customer. It would look a lot nicer. So I'm going to be working with Nathaniel's, I can't even remember his name.
Majid.
Yeah, there you go. I'm terrible with names. Thanks, Bob. So with Nathaniel's master of the CAD works, we'll probably get that going. And my goal is to get the logic boards ordered and made before Christmas, but it's getting kind of tight because it's a 2-week turn to get the boards created, and then it's a 2-week turn to get the boards made. And I think being tomorrow is the first, we're not going to get anything built in for Christmas. So it'll be the first thing in January when those boards get built, or they'll have them in place and we'll be able to do them pretty quick, and then we can start integration. So, but I want to get the other guy with the 3D printing going so we can get that stuff going, because I've got a couple of 3D printers I have access to. So once he makes the STF file, we can just start cranking them out.
051,917. 051,917.
Is that?
Hmm?
Did you say something, Glenn?
No, I was mumbling.
Oh, okay.
Station.
URM. Let's see. What else do I have to go? Well, I'm thinking about it. I'll give the platform the build to update us on where we're at.
John, I have a question for you. What frequency are you running the Bodnar on for Grape 2?
Grape 2 will be running at 8 megahertz.
Okay, interesting. I don't know if you guys picked up on the email traffic about a half hour ago from John Ackerman, who has discovered that the Bodnars have a systemic offset. At 10 megahertz, it's off by 10 to the minus 11th.
Right. Yep. I've known about that.
Okay, because someone was asking about offsets in the Grape 1 data. And John just responded that if we want, he'll take a look at the 9.999 offset. But yeah, we have to be aware of that in the data.
Yeah. The other thing that's really biting us on the Grape 1 is the fact that the sound card doesn't even have a crystal in it. It's a resonator. So that thing is not even close to being accurate.
That's in which?
In the USB sound card.
Oh,
So
right.
that sample rate is not anywhere close to being calibrated, or even probably within 10 to the minus 6 or 10 to the minus 5.
I hadn't noticed that.
But it does have an effect because your frequency
That'll definitely drift.
is determined by that sample rate, and that moves, especially with a resonator, moves all over the place. It's a very good thermometer. So that's one of the advantages of Grape 2 is that is all going to be very tightly controlled.
Just as a quick aside to that, I was doing some of the frequency measurement tests. I discovered my Kenwood, I have a TS2000. It has a good thermometer in it too.
Yeah.
Called its reference oscillator. It has about a 0.7 hertz cycle over 15 minutes as the fan turns on and off.
And David, I thought of you when I was calibrating my flex for the FMT, when you're doing the frequency adjustments that you were saying wasn't working.
Right, yes.
The 2 outer ones don't work. It's just the 2 inner ones work. Because I was on my flex and I hit the outer one and it didn't do anything.
Oh, that's cute.
It shows the number changing, but it doesn't seem to do anything. So that might be the answer.
Right. Yeah, I was able to trim it in, but yeah.
But I only use the 2 inside arrows. It's just the one that does, I think, the 10 hertz jumps or the 1 hertz or whatever it is. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Was that FL Digi we were working with? Yeah.
Just in here. and get us back on track. Any further updates from you, John?
Nope, back to net.
I have a couple of announcements that John's discussion reminded me of.
Okay.
Okay, first thing, related to the Grape 2 production, the NSF has approved our no-cost extension request for the original DAISY grant. And so they are going to let us use that money to support the Grape 2 deployment. So that has been officially approved. I still have to, I have a draft of the annual report for the original DAISY grant that explains all this. That has not been submitted yet. So I may still want to add some things to it, but at least have a draft. I have to get that in by the end of the year.
Do I
Bill
need to
Engel,
review that for you as well?
what's that?
Do I need to help review that?
It may, maybe not.
Okay, because there was one in there, you missed the WWE 15 frequency on the frequencies that I was seeing on one of them,
Okay.
but
You know,
we'll
it,
talk.
yeah, we can talk. The reason I might want to review it is I feel like we may be able to sound in that, you know, in that report, I explain how we go from the tangerine to the grape, and we may be able to make it more positive than I have it written right now. And with good reason. So I will, that's lower on my priority list at the moment, but that is something, even if it's not, I think that the report will be okay. And, you know, your time may be better just spent doing what you're doing. So
I'll leave that to you.
the other good news is that Bill Engelke and Travis Atkinson at University of Alabama, they also got their no-cost extension approved. So that's going to keep the lights on at the Alabama server for another year and allow for continued development. We are Alabama and Scranton are also going in with a Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab. We're involved in a proposal that will help provide additional funding, not total funding, but some funding to help keep the lights on at Alabama and the data server for the next 5 years, if that's funded. And it would also improve the accessibility, making the data more downloadable. So that's really good. Let's see, I think that is, and then the other big news is that the NSF grant for the Hamsci workshop was officially granted. So it wasn't just recommended, it has officially been granted. So we now have the money from both ARDC and the NSF. So over $80,000 to support the Hamsci workshop this year. So we are full speed ahead. Back to net.
Nice.
I'd like to let Bill get a word in edgewise here,
Yeah.
and then Kung if he wants to.
Kung or Bill?
Either way.
I can go first. I think
Oh, okay.
Bill needs more time. So
Oops.
let me see. So the David Castan's new frequency determination program is integrated into the system now, and it's calculating both amplitude and frequency, and the frequency is the offset for each station is added on the system now. So that's working properly, and now we are I'm moving on to implementing a status screen for the system now, that displaying some basic information. Like can I share my screen?
Oh, absolutely.
With regarding point one, I think that's really excellent. I think we're also going to want to take that particular software, that algorithm, and we're going to want to port that into a package that will let us post-process the DRF data into the FLDG format. So all that DRF data that we've already had, we need to convert that into a utility that we can just give it the old DRF data and have it spit out the FLDG format.
Wow.
Okay, so that's really good news.
Yeah, David Castan's gonna be famous.
Yes.
Mhm.
No, I think I know I've been pushing for the for the DRF format, but that has always been with in mind the idea that we could actually derive the FL Digi format from DRF. So we're starting to see the building blocks in place, and we'll have to validate it, make sure it's all doing what it's supposed to be doing. But that's a really key. Having that algorithm separated out is a really key building block for doing that. So that's great news.
That's definitely a possibility. It shouldn't be. I don't think it shouldn't be a difficult thing to do. And here's the status screen that John finalized. So we have a lot of the basic information, the current time, the
I like the VT100 display.
Oh, man, did that go back? Yeah. Well, the VT220 was a yellow or orangish color. But anyway, back to you.
A question with the U-Blocks GPS, can you also have it display the current lat lawn?
Yes.
Yeah, like and maybe I don't know how real time this display is, but if you're able to,
It's updated every second.
okay, yeah. So if it can provide the current lat lawn, that'll give the user some additional, comfort knowing that the GPS really is doing what it's supposed to be doing. And
I will put that into the display and ship it off to Kong as soon as I'm done with this thing there. That's a good idea. I like that.
Are you also able to read the GPS time? Because
Yes.
I imagine the first date time is probably the system date time, right?
No, this is going to be based off the GPS.
Yeah, but that first date time is probably, it's based off the GPS, but is that being read directly from the GPS, or is that the GPS, or is that the system reading from the GPS, and then this date time is the...
Two things with that. One, the U-Blocks GPS is going to be running the GPS daemon that syncs it and makes it a Stratum 1 time standard.
Right.
So it's going to be dead nuts on, but this system date and time, I believe Bill is grabbing from the actual NEMA string coming from the U-Blocks.
Yes.
So that's
Okay.
coming directly from the GPS.
Okay. I'm just wondering if it's important to show both. So I was imagining that maybe this date time you're showing here was coming off of the system, and the system was getting that from that Stratum 1 NTP server. And so I thought if you had that system date time displayed up on there, and then you had the GPS date time displayed below, it give you another check to make sure these things are the same numbers. And if they're not, then you know that there's some sort of a problem.
Yeah, I don't think that would be.
Well,
I mean, we could do
they're coming
that.
from the same source.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
don't see it.
I mean, it may not be necessary, but if you had like that date time going to different places, you put the more raw date time, the one that's really right from the U-Blocks down below, and you put the other one that the system's actually using, up above, and then they should be very similar.
Well,
Yeah.
adding the system date time would probably be very easy. It's just formatting, so maybe we can put them both in.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then if they're off, because sometimes a real danger is you have the GPS going, but the system doesn't sync to it for some reason, and then the two clocks get off. So if you're knowing that they're both the same, then that could be a useful diagnostic.
This timestamp is coming directly out of the NMEA strings from GPS, read by the Pico, and the Pico forwards it to the Raspberry Pi for display. But the little catch in that is that the timestamp reflects the past second, so it's 1 second late when it arrives.
Okay.
So we can correct that on the Raspberry Pi side very easily. But we can also just read the NMEA strings directly from the Pi, because they go to the Pi UART as well as to the Pico UART. So the Pi and the Pico can see the same, are seeing the same
ASCII
Oh.
strings.
Yeah, from the U blocks goes directly to both of them.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
instead of displaying the 1 second late timestamp, we can display the system, the GPS timestamp as it's directly received.
Yeah,
before it goes to the GPS daemon to the
That-
daemon.
That could be good. And then maybe on this screen, make it really clear which time is being displayed. So like where it says
Oh, yeah.
the date, like make it say
I'll
NMEA
do U
GPS.
blocks, and actually I have the upper governor will be system date time, and then below in the U blocks GPS, the line
Yeah.
below it will be U blocks system date and time. So
Yeah.
yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
And latitude, longitude, elevation.
Yeah.
Got
Yeah,
those?
that'd be great.
At all.
That'll be all put in there.
Do you
And
have to do NMEA from the U blocks, or can you do it's
it's easy to do NEMA, but
Yeah, I mean, we can do the binary
because
UBX.
the binary I think would be on time second wise, whereas the NMEA is a second behind.
Yeah,
it's also a lot more coding.
it's
We
you
don't
can-
have
you
it.
can
I'm
get
sure
the-
somebody's got a block for it.
you can
Yeah.
get the next second timestamp using the UBX binary command. So that is a good point that, if we want to do that, we can get it.
Yeah, we're just trying to get to an operational point first. We can tweak this after the eclipse.
Yep, just pointing that out.
Yep.
I mean, the important thing is that the data, the spectrum data is correctly tagged with the correct timestamp at the beginning of that second's acquisition. And so the data that's arriving from the Pico and the RF boards is exactly correct, based on the pulse per second and the NEMA string we're getting from GPS. Even though that NEMA string is maybe 100 milliseconds late, in arriving, it still has the right timestamp in it.
Well, its resolution is only a second, so it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I have a question, and that is, this is Ed. Has anybody done any analysis of the latency through the Grape system?
Yes. I published a paper on that in April. I can pop it up again. In fact, I was planning on doing the RX-888 and the SD play and adding those radios in terms of time of propagations through the radio. And just as a side, the one that surprised me was the Kiwi. The prop delay through it is 2.1 seconds. Back to net, actually back to Bill.
Yeah, I mean, it's Ed again. I mean, it's fine as long as we have that parameterized and know what the value is.
Yeah, through the actual Grape, since it's a direct conversion, there is no negligible known time through it, unlike like the ICOM 7610. I think it was either 4 or 8 milliseconds processing time through it. It's consistent, but it's always there. But anyway, back to Bill.
That's to Kong, actually.
Okay, Kong.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just gonna add a little bit more on this status screen. So Bill, on Bill's side, he's processing on the data and then package it into a JSON format, and then send it to this status display program, which is a completely independent Python program from the rest of the Grape system. So if we would like to, if we like to make this more graphical in the future, that is definitely a possibility.
Yeah, I just like keeping it simple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yeah, that's it for me. Back to the net.
Then it goes to Bill. Any updates? Oh,
um,
screen back though, Kong.
I'm working on the RF board test automation. And I'm then going to integrate David Kesden's new frequency estimation code that he sent that uses a technique by counting 0 crossings. And so we'll be able to test that within a few days, hopefully. then I'm going to be working on measuring the zero amplitude levels of all 3 channels so we can calibrate David's results. Then I will work on writing the status monitor data pipe so Con can get real data in his Python program. And then we had a good talk with David Witten yesterday, as John mentioned. I'll be writing the code to receive the magnetometer data from his magnetometer program. So we decided to just keep that program independent and communicate through a named pipe or a FIFO to the data controller so that we can then merge that data with the spectrum data for the status monitor, and also serialize that to file. So that's about it.
And I'm also going to be adding the zero cals to each of the headers for the files we're running. And I will do that in my program. So it's with the data, because you're going to need that to extract correct levels since the numbers are all binary. So.
Yeah.
Back to net.
All right.
Yeah, the details are the zero measurements for each A to D channel, if you want to put that in there.
Okay. Let's see. If one question, I thought not last week, 2 weeks ago, we nixed the magnetometers for the budget. Do we have budget to continue magnetometer work?
The way we're offering this is, I believe that the user is going to be able to buy it if they want to, and they can just buy the one board. They don't have to buy the dual set, because the dual set will not work with Grape 2. I'm working with Dave Witten on spinning a specific board, since it's very easy to do, and we can make that an option. They're not going to be that expensive. I'm guessing production costs. Well, the biggest cost will be the RJ45 connector and the actual magnetometer. I think that totals to, I want to say the magnetometers are about $10 a piece. I don't remember. It's been too long since I bought them. So I imagine for like 30 or 40 bucks that we can make them. So it's not going to be a huge hit, but since it's going to be out on the status screen, or we haven't decided if we're going to eliminate that if we don't see it, but
Okay.
yeah, we're not planning on shipping those, but I think it's going to be an option.
Yeah, I'll chime in here. I think that's, John has it absolutely correct. We are not, as part of this project, producing them and shipping them out to everybody, but we are building in the compatibility so that it can be used. You can buy magnetometer boards already through Tapper's store, and so this should be compatible with them. And then Dave Witten and Hyomin and myself, we are in the process of writing a hardware X paper on the magnetometer. Hopefully that'll get submitted within the next couple of weeks. And Dave Witten has a slightly revised design from what's in the Tapper store right now that really is just his design. And we're going to make that available. The thing that's important to know about magnetometers is I think they're a lot more finicky than the Grape is, because they're very, very sensitive to all sorts of magnetic disturbances and things. So if you're living in any sort of a suburban environment, and you aren't able to really isolate your magnetometer from that suburban environment, and you don't have a nice you can't get it dug into the ground to stabilize the temperature, the measurements are going to be very poor quality or very noisy. So I think there's only going to be certain types of people that it's really going to make sense to have the magnetometer, and pretty much anyone who can receive WWV is going to be able to make use of the Grape.
Yeah, the magnetometer you definitely want to have. You don't want it next to your driveway because just your car going past it will disturb it. In fact, even walking by with a lawnmower will disturb it. So, and the most people that putting up the Grape 2s are not going to have the ability to plant one of those things 3 feet into the ground easily, especially if you're, yeah. Anyway, back to Ned.
Just to interject, if I can, I think that the cost for the mag boards as they are currently the ones I'm making right now, single unit, is going to be closer to $50, I
Okay.
would guess, because there's $25 for the P&I component.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
plus the RJ45 and the fabrication of the board. So, and that's cost rather than price probably. But I don't want, yeah, I'm not, let's just put that in there. And so there's a reasonable expectation. And then the person who deploys it is going to need to buy some PVC and a nice long piece of Cat 5 or 6 cable, which is, a few more bucks, not much, but it doesn't come free.
Thank you, David. Thank you. I couldn't remember how much the P&I P&I module cost. That
Yeah.
does sound right.
Yeah, they went up.
Oh, okay.
Few
Maybe
bucks.
I bought mine back in 2020.
Mhm.
And Dave, by the way, all 4 of those boards came up and worked first try.
Music to my ears.
Thank you. Back to Ned.
Okay. This is from a long time ago. Is Kasdan still working on a test script as well, or just the script for frequency stuff?
Well, I have test code in that C code, and it is working a whole lot better than it was. I appreciate John's help solving some problems yesterday. Bill, look for another email from me late this afternoon.
Okay.
And
Thanks.
David, just as a quick question, do we have the capability yet of sending simulated data and adding noise to it, or is that still in the process?
I don't think I put noise into it yet, but I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Adding noise is always easy. Back to Ned.
Okay. Other updates, concerns, questions on the Grape 2 deployment? Okay. Hesitate to say it seems like we're making good time. For old business, other projects, has there been any work on the Grape drop-off issues?
Well, I've been looking at that a little bit, and I resurrected my red pitaya that possibly I could use as a signal generator to test that. But I did need to touch base with John on this. The red pitaya has a signal generator. I haven't determined whether it will run at 10 megahertz or not. Maybe it will, but anyway, its output is in volts. I mean, you can set it to 0.000 something, but it's not in dB. So what could I safely feed into the Grape 1 without concern over overloading the front end or killing the device?
I was injecting, I think it was 100 microvolts peak to peak, but I can give you a resistor divider network that'll work really well. That'll feed the input antenna with a 50 ohm impedance and divide it down, and makes your adjustments much simpler. So we can talk about that. But
I'll be upstairs, Shannon.
Okay, 1 millivolt in won't hurt anything. You could start with that. And I suspect that should give you a pretty strong signal.
Okay, we'll see if we can get that.
But if you even put a resistor divider that took it like down to 1,000 to 1, like 100K into 50 ohms, that would work just because that's what I'm using for. Actually, that's exactly what I'm using for my test source on the RF deck is 100K into 50 ohms, and then the 50 ohms feeds the antenna input. That works really well.
Okay,
And I'm feeding that with a 3.3 volt peak signal.
all right. You said 3 volts?
Yeah, into the 100K.
Right, sure.
And that works great.
You might measure that.
You don't really need to for the simple reason that it's based on the LC filter characteristics and whatnot. And if Bill can vary the amplitude, which he's probably going to have to do the testing, you might have to even decrease the 100K to something like 50K.
You know, I'm just worried about the capacity across the 100K resistor.
Oh, that's not a problem at all. It's extremely low power. I don't understand the concern.
Well, just that it's the ratio of the two resistors. That's all.
Yeah, but the other things are so mushy that even 1% values are way over what you need. So yeah,
I'm just worried about the coupling around the resistor.
Well, an 0805 has about 0.75 picofarads across it inherently by its construction. And that's not a problem for these frequencies.
Well, I still use resistors that are bigger.
Yeah. Carbon comp is hard to beat.
My eyes didn't go with the parts. It went the other way.
All right, so I'll take a look at that and see what we can do. One other thing, dealing with the personal space for the station network, Red Willoughby, who is KC4LE, had a very interesting suggestion, which he reminded me that SatNogs has a feature of this, where on a daily basis, the system looks through and identifies any stations that had been sending data but are no longer, and sends an email, a warning email to the user saying, we're no longer receiving data from you. So that would be, sounds like the kind of feature would be fairly easy to add. So, but I don't know if I want to start sending them to all the people. I mean, there's some people who seem to have lost interest in the project and their stations have gone red. And so I don't know whether they would appreciate getting a daily email about that or not. Quit bothering me with these emails. But one idea would be to just send it to people whose stations are yellow, which means they sent data sometime within the last week, but not within the last 24 hours, to give them an early warning that their system has gone down. So that's I mean, if anybody has any feedback on that, I'm happy to hear it, but that's something being considered.
I think the stations that are red should get the email, because if they're upset about getting the emails, maybe if they're not going to run it, they should send the station back.
That's not a bad idea.
You know, we didn't make that just to collect dust.
Yeah, I certainly think that the stations that we have provided and paid for with NSF dollars, we should do our best to make sure they stay on the air. Whether that means working with the person to get it back on the air or asking them to send it back. You know, we can even offer to pay for shipping to bring it back to us. But I think it's really important that, you know, if they are using an NSF paid for receiver, we should do everything we can to keep it going.
Well, maybe I could take a look and focus this effort on the people who have systems that were built by the New England team. Anyway, I mean, there's all kinds of different things you could do, but I'll take a look at that first.
You think you can target that subset?
Yeah, we could.
That would be a good idea, I think.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And also, noticing that the stations have gone red, hey, your station is not on the air. Would be a good kind of reminder, and they ought to be able to opt out of that.
I
They're
certainly would
setting the
appreciate getting
product
that
for it.
email. If it was the case for my station, I'd want to know about it. So yeah.
I think we ought to be prepared too, is once those emails go out, we've got at least one case. It was one of the NSF stations. The gentleman is technically pretty competent and is reasonably sure that he's got a problem with his Raspberry Pi. So if he gets an email saying his station's gone down, he's going to say, I know that. I asked you guys for some help. Can I get a replacement Pi or whatever remedy we think we ought to propagate? So I guess we ought to think ahead to the next steps. That's all.
What is the status of dealing with his problem?
I don't know. I haven't been here for a couple of weeks. Maybe we'll run into it in the notes later, but that was Steve London Stations N2IC. I think it's in the notes later.
He's welcome to send his Raspberry Pi out here, W7LUX.
I think probably the easiest thing to do is just send him a new Pi. If he's technically competent to replace it, that'd probably be the easiest thing to do.
Pi.
Yeah,
Or
N2,
I'll talk to you later about that, Gary.
Still down. Yeah, that station is still down.
Okay. Yeah, keep me updated on that, Gary. We'll figure something out.
Okay, yeah, Steve's a good guy, and he's got one of the top 20 contest stations in the U.S. probably. So yeah, he's pretty competent.
Okay, yeah, he's no problem there.
Is it a lot of work to do like an email opt-in? So maybe I have too many like online accounts for things, but usually there's some sort of like I consent to receive emails kind of thing.
Oh, it's not. It wouldn't be a huge project to do that. Just have to add probably have to add a checkbox to the station profile.
Right.
And then start out by automatically opt everybody in, and if they dislike getting the emails, they can go through and turn it off.
And a little note on the email that gets sent on how to turn it off.
Right, right. And also, I mean, if somebody is for whatever reason unable to continue with the project, they probably should tell us so we can take their station off the map.
Yep.
Because it looks bad to have a bunch of red stations. And somehow or another, we got a little bit of data once upon a time from Jenny Jump, and then they kind of faded away. I think they were going to submit magnetometer data. So.
Right. But I think also that would be just information for us if they've been read a long time and they're not even receiving emails anymore.
Yeah, well,
that's Yeoman.
Have a policy.
Yeoman is Jenny Jump.
Right, correct.
And yeah, I'm puzzled why it wouldn't still be running, but definitely a question for him.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just, we're all just overwhelmed. So I know Yeoman's working very hard on getting the actual magnetometer paper out, and Jenny Jump's an hour west of where he is, and
right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but there are people who easily visit there. It's worth asking.
Yeah.
Nathaniel, isn't Yeoman preparing a presentation for AGU as well?
I think so.
I thought I saw that. So
yeah,
I can imagine that he is overwhelmed at the moment.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
There was a Chinese graduate student, Zhao Shu, who was working with us on developing a supermag light capability to run on the personal space weather station. And at the end of last semester, that is last spring, that effort faded away. Their server went off the air, and I heard nothing more about it. So that has been paused.
Mhm.
So,
But I can tell you that Yeoman is actively working on the paper for it, and hopefully I've seen a draft. It's getting close, and his goal is to get it submitted by AGU. So that's one of the things I'm waiting for on submitting the NSF report on the DAISY project. I'd like to be able to write in the NSF report that we've submitted that paper. So we're working on it.
yeah, I mean, by the way, since we're on the topic, just one sentence. I have submitted my NSF end of year report to Dr. Atkinson. So he's
Excellent.
So he's working on that. So
thank you very much, Bill.
Yeah, maybe wait until after AGU, but it would be very helpful to have a magnetometer of this ilk working at JJ, because they do have a scientific grade magnetometer there to compare to.
yeah,
I absolutely agree with that.
yeah. In the past, when I've compared my magnetometer results to the one in New Orleans, I think Stennis, is that the one? You could almost line them up one on top of the other. So our magnetometer does work. So back to Ned.
Okay. Let's get back to let's see what we skipped over. Initial press release. Really fast. How is that going?
Yeah, there's been a number of press releases that are going out. There's 3 of them going out this week. And today was supposed to be the day that Ed Fjack WX2R was going to put out the big one about the observations from October 14th.
Okay. So should we watch for that then?
Yeah, I'll confirm that we can just complete this next Thursday probably. I'm confident it'll get done because we're a month, almost a month and a half out now. So
It's fine. I'm just checking in.
I presume there'll be more on that this afternoon.
right, exactly, Dave. Yes.
Yeah. And Gary, any updates from you on website stuff?
No, it's been nice. A couple of people have emailed me and asked to be added to the Grape contributors list, so I'm trusting them on that, adding a few names. And I did put George and Bill's document, refresh that on a website to add the NSF acknowledgement on there, Nathaniel, so that's done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gary, I've got an update on the disk initialization document that one of the users mentioned. A couple of fixes that corrections need to go in there, so I'll be sending that to you next.
Okay, is that also one we want to put the NSF acknowledgement in? Maybe George could send you that paragraph and you could put it at the bottom of the table of contents or whatever.
Yeah, sure, I'll get that from George.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Bill, does that run on the Raspberry Pi?
Yeah. Yeah.
Include me on a distribution copy of that. I want to play with it.
Okay.
Rachel, this is Dave in Colorado. I wanted to look at a couple of my graphs and have some input from people if we could.
Sure.
And
When we have time.
That reminds me, Rachel, one of the things that the New England Grape Group has asked for a few things, and one of the things they asked for was some time on these telecons each day to review some of the science, to look at some plots that people have found and to try and interpret them.
I would love that.
That's what I want to do right now.
Yeah.
I also do have a demo of some I wrote a very cursory start of software that will go use GNU Radio to output Grape DRF data into a WAV file, and then you can visualize it using Jupyter Labs. So I'm putting that onto GitHub now. It needs a lot of development, but it's a good proof of concept and shows that it works. It's something people can start playing with right away if they like.
Okay, in a similar stream, just because I see it directly above here, was the digital RF documentation and code posted to GitHub? Do you know?
I think if I think the answer is yes. I did put a GitHub repository under the HamSci repository, which contains code. It contains a couple of codes. It contains one code that simply reads digital RF in the format that the flavor of digital RF that we're using, where it knows where the metadata is, and it just reads it, and then at that point you do what you want with it. And a second program that does the spectrum plot from that data. So that second one is a superset of the first one. Those have been posted on that HamSci digital RF GitHub repository.
Bill, I'm asking for a friend, but is the overall data model of the digital RF documented there?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Dave, did you have plots you wanted to show?
That is one strong signal.
Mm.
Ooh, Ubuntu has ticked at you.
Mm-hmm. I've seen that.
A lot of people have been seeing this lately. I think one of the fixes, maybe a security fix or whatever, from Ubuntu must be not happy with a GNU radio or something, but we've all been ignoring it, and so far it doesn't seem to have had any consequences.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that very frequently.
Same thing out here.
I've seen it on my station a couple of times as well. And it only happened, this only started within the past few weeks.
Have you been doing the system updates?
I have, yes.
Because I have not done a system update and I have not seen this yet.
I have not done a system update, but I have seen that.
Interesting. Okay, well, I mean, I don't think you can turn off security updates, so it may be some updates are getting applied automatically. It could be related to that.
It happens on mine at UTC midnight.
If you ignore future problems of this type, does it not show up anymore?
We'll have to investigate.
You can't turn off the security updates.
They
It
will
will
only-
ask you if you want to apply them, and I've been applying them, but
Yes.
I also get that error occasionally. I think the way the 15 was set up, that should only show up once every couple of weeks. Is that right, Bill?
Yeah, we turned off all updates except security. I mean, you can't turn off security updates, as you said. I think you could choose not to apply them. Just ignore the update screen, just cancel it. But if people have already applied them, as I have, you'll get this error, as I do also. I usually send it to the developers, hoping maybe somebody will notice.
Yeah,
and
I do
give us
that.
another update, to fix it. But other than that, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, if it's happening right at midnight, well, if if it's happening at 000 UTC, it could be related to LFTP because LFTP has a lot of security hooks in it. So
No, I've seen it just this morning. Just I've been fooling around and boop, there it is.
okay.
I'll take a look at mine, might be there. But Dave, your signal there looks pretty strong and you got that variation, looks like coming in from Hawaii.
Yeah. Dave, where are you geographically?
I think Dave's in Fort Collins.
Makes sense. Quite a
Still
strong
with
carrier
us,
there.
Dave? He's sharing his screen. He's got to be with us.
I was wondering if his audio went out.
Yeah.
If you can hear us, Dave, there you go.
Okay, sorry. Let me try that again. I got muted somehow.
Yeah, I hate computers. But
Yeah, I'm not even sure what the screen I'm sharing here. Hold on. Hold on. There we go. All right, we're back at this one. So this is the data I got just the other day. This is on the 26th. And I thought it was kind of interesting. And so if you go look at my data, here's my data for that day. And here is that other signal showing up over here on the during the daytime. And I thought this is interesting. This is a sunrise, so I'm definitely getting a signal off, the delay or forming. But if you take a look at another station there, it's the same thing. And they're almost identical on top of one another with that showing up. And of course, I've got this huge signal from WWV sort of masking the side signals. But
and where is the other station located?
And
that's Tucson. That's WA9. That's my station. So this is WA9 TKKs in Tucson. I was looking for a station to the west that might be picking up the picking up WWV and WWVH. And so what I'm seeing here is I think he's picking up WWV during the day, but he's also picking up WWVH.
Wow.
Because he's getting that variation in there too. I don't think that that's ionic from Fort Collins. I think that's coming from the Pacific. And so
yeah, this is WA9TKK. I have a Alex loop antenna. It's pointing due north. So Hawaii would be at the null on the broadside of the loop. So,
but what is that other signal you've got coming in?
No, don't know. I've always had a strong signal from WWV directly.
But I think you're also maybe picking up WWVH. Is that possible?
You might.
It could be VH or it could be Brazil.
Huh.
Could I suggest you look at the data on FLDigi from VE7DXX, and that's available on the New England plots that Bill could send to you.
Well, I just wanted to point it out. I just thought it was kind of interesting that we're seeing that.
That is really interesting. So that looks like the mode splitting that Steve Serwin has been observing. So he sees that sort of thing almost every day from Mico, Texas. And what he interprets that as is you receiving multi-hop propagation off of either multiple layers of either multiple hops or off of different layers, different regions of the ionosphere. So simultaneously from the D or from the F1 and the F2, or the E and the F1 and the F2. So either one of those scenarios. I'd encourage you to send this over to Steve Serwin and show him that you observed the same structure in both your station and the other one, because he's only ever looked at these really from his station, I think this is the first time I've seen these structures that look so similar in two stations from different geographic locations. So I think that's really interesting.
And this is just pulling the data off of the DRF server, which is really nice.
That is really, really good.
I know that, Nathaniel, you brought up with me the access to the FL Digi data that we're collecting at WWV Amateur Radio Club. And
Yes.
that is publicly available, but Christina is looking at it first and then putting it up on Zenodo. So
Okay.
as far as real-time access to that, the way we would have to do that, I'd have to register everybody on our server, and I can do that. And we, certainly can make that available. I don't know how long we're going to count on WWV ARC as the collection point for FL Digi. We certainly can keep it up. I'm not worried about that, but I do want you to have access to the data. The concern from our IT side of things is that all we're doing is collecting this data using FTP, and the potential for bad actors to get involved is pretty high. And so that's, we're worried about if we collect the data and somehow somebody uploads something that is erroneous, like a virus. If people have open access to download it, we're spreading stuff all over the place, and we don't want to do that.
That makes a lot of sense. And you know what? I think with all of that said, I think just leave it the way it is right now. Let Christina do what she's doing. If she's keeping it up to date on Zenodo on a somewhat regular basis, I think that's really good. And this is the whole purpose of having the Alabama server. And so Bill and his team have done an excellent job getting that server going. We've seen these major improvements in the last few weeks with these really nice summary plots, so now that's making things available. So I think that's all really good. So yeah, the plan is to, and now we also have, as you can see, we also now have the algorithm for doing the FL Digi frequency measurement separated out, and that's going to be baked into the Grape 2. Plus, we have plans. I at least have plans to have that available as a tool that can easily convert the Grape digital RF data into an FL Digi equivalent post-processing. So, and I could see that running routinely on the Alabama server. So I think the plan in the Alabama server is set up to let anyone be able to go in and download the data.
Exactly.
So I think the ultimate plan is really to eventually sunset the WWV ARC system, we eventually, once we're able to prove that the new FL Digi systems can equivalently handle the provide, once we can prove that the new digital RF systems can provide equivalent FL Digi style measurements, and Christina is happy. At that point, the plan is to transition the currently existing FL Digi Grapes over to digital RF and get them all onto Bill Engelke's system. So
I think that's a good goal. We certainly can host the, collecting the data, but it makes it a little hard for everybody to get to everybody's data right now.
Yeah.
And
so I think let's just leave it as it is. I think Bill's team is making really good progress, and I think things just always take longer than all of us hope to, and hope it does.
Well, we don't mind hosting it, and I'm glad it's worked as well as it has. And
but we do have a plan, to move forward to that other system, and we are seeing progress towards it. So I think we're going to be okay. I have to go in very soon to go to Devin Deal's master's thesis proposal, but if I can just have a minute, Rachel, I would like to show. I'm working on getting this up on the GitHub. But here is a very simple GNU. If you are able to install GNU Radio and digital RF onto your Linux system, or onto, I guess, whatever system. So if you get those two things installed and working properly, I was able to make this GNU flow graph that will take in digital RF data. So this is Grape produced digital RF data source here that I clicked download from Bill Engelke's server. It gave me a zip file. I decompressed it and I pointed this block to that. I was then able to have it play out to a GNU waterfall sync and simultaneously do a complex IQ to a float and put that out to a wave file. So I was able to run this one flow graph and it gave me that file. Once I got that wave.out file, I was able to write a Jupyter lab, if I pull up the correct one here. Okay, yeah, here, this one right here, this is very messy right now, but what it does is it will, I wrote a little function that will take in a time vector and the frequency. It will plot the time domain and the spectrogram. And then I wrote a little function that will convert a signal from floats to integers. And then you can load that IQ wave file in, convert it to imaginary numbers, and then I'm able to plot that signal. So this is actual Grape data that I downloaded from Bill Engelke's server, and I have plotted the time domain and the spectrum right here.
Are the vertical axes correct?
The vertical axes?
Yeah, are they calibrated?
At this, so for the purpose of this exercise that I did late at night, I just I may have done some normalization here.
Yeah, the frequency hertz looks a little excessive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason the reason I ended up doing this is I'm planning on giving here, I'm gonna turn the recording off for, well, they're not gonna find it. Kung, don't say anything. I'm planning on giving my digital signal processing class a final exam where they need to take the Grape data and make up a flow graph like this, and they need to sonify it so that you can hear the eclipse. And I'm working with a local blind association here. They want to know more about ham radio, and I want to be able to give them a presentation about the eclipses and about radio, and I want them to be able to hear the eclipse going through. So my DSP class's final exam is going to be, okay, here's an IQ file, go write a Jupyter Lab notebook that plots these things. I don't really care about the exact values, but I want it to sound good for someone who's blind so they can hear the eclipse go through. So that's why I whipped this up. But what this does show, even though I don't have all the numbers and everything worked out right, it does show a good proof of concept of how you could go from the GNU radio flow graph into something that you can load into Python and work with. So if we get, find some other student or volunteer, they can take these ideas and work it up into something that's, better suited for community scientific analysis.
I might note also, if you want to do this on Windows, which is probably crazy, but some people might need to, if you install Radio Conda, then you can get GNU Radio running on your Windows system with relatively little effort.
And so that's really good to know. And if that's the case, I might try that later. And again, I can just post this code as it is up to GitHub later, and it's just understand that it's just not calibrated, it's just a proof of concept. But yeah, people are free to play around with it and try to improve it. So maybe I can send that out to the Grape list later. Also, NASA puts out these really cool books called Getting a Feel for Eclipses. This is about the eclipses and it's in Braille. And so it's designed for blind people, and you open it up and you can they have it embossed. The sun, the moon, the earth all lined up in eclipse. They explain what partial totality is, and they have over here the actual paths of the eclipse. Let's see if I can stop sharing this part. You can actually feel the eclipse paths over here. So when I was at the NASA conference a week or so ago, I got about 15 of these books. I'll bring them to the Blind Association too. But NASA does produce these. I can put the link in the chat, which I have to. Because I think this is really cool. The link is. Let me see. NASA, get a feel for eclipses. There it is. Yep. NASA Braille book, Science for Everyone. Oh, great. They have a nice little video about it too. So here, I'll put this in the chat. And they have a whole series of Braille books, not just this one. Okay. I do have to run. I will not be able to be here next week or the week after because those 2 weeks I'm going to Boulder, Colorado next week for the NSF Cedar Science Steering Committee meeting. The week after that, I'll see some of you in San Francisco for the Fall American Geophysical Union meeting. The week after that, I'm going on vacation for 2 days. So what's that?
2 days.
2 days, yes.
Wow.
So we're going to Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. So it's the day after grades are due. So I probably won't be able to make that day. Then it's Christmas, then it's New Year's. So I don't know if I'm going to be on this telecon for like a month or so. So I apologize. I am reachable by email and by other means. Rachel, and I trust you to keep the lights on and you figure out how when this group needs to go on Christmas break and New Year's break and whatever. So you just keep that going. And I just want to tell everyone, I'm really, really thrilled with the progress this group is making and all the contributions that everyone is doing. I think it's incredible that we have gotten this far. So thank you.
Nathaniel, I want to commend you on using a final exam to help other people.
Thank you.
Do I need to touch base with you on the last 2 orders, or can I do that through Salisa without you?
You can go ahead and order them, but just make sure you CC me on it.
Okay.
Okay.
Nathaniel, the 3D propagation surface that I 3D printed, you might want to share one of those with your blind team as well.
That's a wonderful idea. That's such a good idea, Bill.
Explain to them what that means, because we now have the ability to take our 20 meters and show what it looks like a whole day across different ranges for the whole day and on any given day.
That's wonderful. That's a really good idea. I didn't think about it, but I have it right here. And so actually I'm starting to amass a collection of things that I can use with blind people, because I also have Liz McDonald's.
Yeah, don't leave that one sitting on your seat. That would hurt.
I have Liz McDonald's 3D magnetosphere as well. So there's a lot of really, really great things. So this is really cool. So yes.
Are those STL files available? Is that something that we could put up on the server?
Yeah. I'm gonna run. Thank you, everyone. You can keep going.
Our vice president of the WWV Amateur Radio Club is blind, and he would love to see this stuff. And the NASA link is awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. And yes, I do know the Aurorasaurus one. If you Google Aurorasaurus 3D magnetosphere, you should be able to get those files. And Laura Brandt Edson will be more than happy to help you make that happen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Dave, for the ones that I'm doing, these are ones that I just have done a couple of demos on this. We don't have anything running on a regular basis to do this on the Personal Space Weather Station network. That would involve some real effort, but if there's a real demand for it, we might take a look at that next year.
The lab I'm working on at Colorado State University right now is an education and outreach center, and anything that can reach out to people with disabilities is a great tool. So
yeah, I mean, Yeah, Mary Lou has one as well. I gave him a few people to him when we had the Hamsci conference. You know, I could take the STL files that I have made and post them somewhere so that other people could print them, or I could even ship completed ones out. But I don't have a regular. There's some effort involved in producing these one-offs. So anyway, back to Ned.
They're very cool, and I think it's a great tool. And yeah, I'd love to look at the STL files and print one myself just to have an example.
All right, I'd like to jump in with a quick comment from Mary Lou. Mary Lou, I heard back from your friend Bernie Walt, and he's excited about building a Grape 1. He's going to give it a try. So that worked. I have an off-topic request. I'm working with a high school group, and we're looking for projects that high school students can accomplish using a 14-inch telescope. So if anybody's got any ideas, I'd sure like to hear where do I look for ideas and so forth. I can do a little spectroscopy and possibly variable star measurement, but I'm looking for other stuff that would interest high school students. And I'm W7LUX. I'm not sure if the @arrl.net works anymore.
Joe, I'd like to talk to you more about that, being a high school teacher.
Oh, super. Okay, thanks, Dave.
So Joe, say your email again.
I'm not sure if the ARRL forwarding service works anymore.
Anything that works.
Okay.
Send it to me, westem@montclair.edu. Thank you.
Okay.
And for anyone who hasn't been watching the chat, possible G3 geomagnetic storm tonight.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, with the aurora across the northern US possible.
It's possible, but we know how fickle that is.
And they said PME effects through December 2nd.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
A CME, yeah.
It's multiple CMEs coming in that it, some caught up with others, so it could be quite turbulent.
Watch your nighttime sky to the north. I was able to see some northern light auroral glow from mid-Missouri in the last process, and tried to take some pictures, but you know how that goes. So it was just a large red, yellow glow off to the northeast. So
yeah, it was cloudy here, but Mount Washington saw some.
Dave Schwartz, what's your call sign? WB0?
It's W0DAS, Delta Alpha Sierra.
Okay, no Bravo. Thank you.
Oh, I'm not logged in as I usually am. Sorry. Gary, are there any more of the Grape, the DRF systems out there?
There are. I mean, we've been trying to get maybe it's the very last one out to West Point, and that's been a real bureaucratic fiasco. But I don't believe that there's any more that are assembled up looking for a home, unless we get some that are returned. As we've talked, a few stations seem to have gone silent. So
yeah, maybe we ought to start a list of, so we get in return who they go to. I think Dave should probably be on that list for is that for the high school, Dave?
Yeah, I went over and talked to them yesterday. It's gonna take some trickery to get the Raspberry Pis on the school district network, but that's the hardest part. I am kind of interested in keeping this system here at my house since I'm getting all this great WWVH stuff coming in here. The school is 2 miles from WWV. And so I don't know if we would be able to get the WWVH actually. Well, if it's off frequency, it should be recorded, right? So
I think so.
Yeah. So it might work just as well at the school, but I just found it really interesting. I've got these 2 signals coming in, and have them both recorded. It's really neat.
I think we lost our moderator. I think she went to class.
Okay, if there's a Grape system that comes up though, I think the school would be very interested in trying to get it installed there. So
I think that'd be a good learning experience too, if they do manage to get on the network to figure out what hoops and that would help others in the future too.
and I got the very broad question from the teacher yesterday, and it's a good question. Is, you know, how can students in high school utilize this data to learn about, well, what are they going to learn about? I mean, there's so many different things. So if we look at how you might present this to a group that doesn't have the knowledge that this group does, how would you introduce this project? How would you get kids up to speed? What would be the benefit to a science classroom? I mean, in the back of our heads, we can think of a thousand things, but it would be nice to put it into a more of a formal, here's what a school can do with what we're doing in the science. If there is some way to develop even a simple curriculum to look at different learning levels, whether it be middle school, high school, advanced physics classes. I think all of this could really benefit, you know, the learning environment.
Well, we're actually in the background, kind of think ahead of, you know, post eclipse. What are some of the things that Hansai should be pursuing? And obviously some are technical and experimental in nature and stuff. But this is the kind of thing that could grow the community quite a bit, Dave. So I'm trying to start a list somewhere of things we might work on in the future, and I think this would be a good one.
A suggestion would be to contact Steve Goodgame at the ARRL. He's the education guy there now, and work with him to put together a well-defined package that could be an auxiliary project or something like that to any motivated high school group, or maybe even junior high. The teachers are interested in this kind of thing, but they don't have any extra time at all. And mostly this is well outside the bounds of standardized curricula and testing. So if it's not on the standardized test, it doesn't get into the curriculum. So you have to put this in a format that either directly supports the standardized curricula, which I don't think is really realistic, or is so easy to deploy as an auxiliary item, like a Grape 2 sounds like a great idea, doesn't it? You know, you just put it out there and put up a simple antenna, you turn it on, you get it going, and then it's a project for the class for a semester or a year. And the Radio Jove is a good example of a similar type of CAN project. But talk to Steve Goodgame and see if he's interested in that. He might even be able to work it into the Teachers Institute as a take-home package. You've already identified really motivated teachers that do that. And they want this kind of project. So anyway, K5 Alpha Tango Alpha at ARL.org.
Okay, Sports Sense, I need a QRT. Good seeing everybody, and stay in touch.
Bill, I'm gonna
Yeah.
send you an email later today.
All right,
Just keep a heads up for it.
all right, 73.
7-3s.
Mary Lou, give me your email address again, please. This is Joe. You're muted.
Sorry. So I'm Mary West. So my email is westm@Montclair, MONTCLAIR.edu, Montclair State University.
Okay, so it's westm@montclair.edu. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Send me something. Gotta go too. Bye.
Goodbye, Mary.
All right, everyone, have a great day, and keep watching your plots. The sun's been giving us a lot to look at lately, that's for sure.
Thanks, Gary. 73.
73 all.
33 all.